What's up, you guys? It's your boy Squints here with another episode of Only Mutuals with a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Uh, I never know how to do this. My name's Cameron. I don't know. Yeah, Cameron Hawkins. I do stuff.
That's the exact same intro you did last time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I just I'm from Cam.
But what I really want to touch on, like right off the bat, is the ringer. You just
Yeah,
did an incredible piece with Dex Harwood. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
how'd that come
Um.
about?
Oh no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, how'd that go about? That's all I was asking.
So really, we were looking at. I wanted to talk to Dax really right when I started, man. My first articles was with Rick. Everybody knows Rick and I are friends. But Rick put me on with a guy named Danny when he found out that like the publication I was doing it under, right? So Danny was like, we got along great. He sits in on the interviews just to make sure nobody says anything crazy, right? But right after the Rick thing, I reached out to him. I was like, yo, I'd really like to talk to Dax Harwood because he's had this really incredible year, like in ring, especially with his single stuff. Like we all know how good of a tag team wrestler he is, but his single stuff, like it really caught my eye, like even in matches that he wasn't winning. So I'd hit Danny. And then as we got closer and closer to Grand Slam, companies look to put their talent in different publications, do different media things. And so he thought of me and, we got with Dax that same week. Um, had a really good conversation, man. He sat there, he's drinking his whiskey. And it's like a Sunday afternoon, I think. No, it's like a Friday because it's before I left for LA. So we just sit there and talk for like an hour, man. And he was a super open book. Realized how much we had in common being, about the same age. He's like a year older than me. We were in college at the same time. And so we had a lot of stuff that we could relate to with each other. And yeah, man, it just came together. And with Rick, Rick is not elusive, but he's an artist. He's music guy. He's fashion guy. He's like go to the museum and look at art guy. And so I thought you had to present that a certain way. But Dax is real, like down home, salt of the earth. I want to tell you about my family. I want to tell you about my wife. I want to tell you about my upbringing. And so it was just writing something different. It was not like a biography, but what you're getting in the ring for the last 6, 7, 8 months. This is where that comes from, So yeah, man, it was just salute to Dax, salute to Danny for being such open books and being available. But yeah, man, it was just he wanted to talk and it worked out. It was great. I had a great time doing it.
Yeah. I right after that I hit you up and I was like, good work, that was amazing and all that. My favorite thing about you is you drive in everyone's head, never give up. And like you told me, you're like, look at this. This is years of hard work. And then
Yeah.
you
And
did
that's like I try not to. It's hard to talk about success without it seem like bragging. But what I did when I hit you up, I hit my man Jeff up and a couple of other people. And I literally like pretty much said the same thing. I was like, yo, 14 years, 14 years, 14 years. Like this is not an overnight thing. This is a culmination of a lot of work. And so like with you, like I see you working, we talk about the stuff we do. And the cool thing about you is you're not afraid to reach out and like ask questions and ask for advice. And so I was like, I wanted to hit you and just let you know, like, look, this thing can happen if you want it to happen, but it's not overnight. This is literally the summation of all that stuff. So yeah, man, it's like I hate when people are like they're like, they say they're gonna put you on game or they're trying to like big bro you and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, I don't try to do none of that. I literally want you to see this is how stuff comes together. Yeah. So yeah, it was I'm glad I got to have a thing to show you and show a couple of other people that, the thing you want can just happen for sure.
and then you started or yeah, you started, or was it a compilation of other people? The C2HQ thing.
Yeah, C2HQ. It was originally my idea. And it was really like, you absolutely helped like with that and a couple of other people, because what happens is all of a sudden and this isn't you, because we have been talking for months and months and months, but when you all of a sudden they can put a name to the thing you do, or they can see you under a specific banner, that's when a lot of people are like, hey, how do I make that happen? Hey, how do I get there? Hey, how do I get seen and all that kind of stuff? And so it was like, look, I can't do this by myself, man. Ain't but so many hours in a day. So I reached out to like 5 or 6 people who, one, I think are really good at what they do. Two, I think have always been willing to impart advice and help people. And three, like kind of get along with everybody, or not everybody, but get along with different pockets of like this work. And so, yeah, we put together the C2HQ. We're in a Slack daily talking about different people's work. It's taking a little bit longer to get off the ground just because I happen to do this thing during like right when Comic-Con is happening and right when pay-per-views are happening. So like the people looking at the work are working, right? But we got into a couple of the early projects, and so we're working on getting through that. But yeah, nobody, and my man Shaggy came to the crib to watch Extreme Rules and some college football on Saturday night, and we had a long conversation about it. Just like nobody was telling me how to do this. Nobody told me how to podcast. Nobody told me how to write. Nobody told me how to stream. I had to figure it out, and definitely nobody told me for free. And I was like, yo, like literally what we're trying to create, like we want this thing to exist past us doing it. Like I want content to thrive. I want wrestling content to thrive. I want cool people to talk about the stuff that I do, or stuff that I watch, stuff I'm into, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just like, why not help people at least, head in the right direction in what they're trying to do and let it go from there, for sure.
And then, do you want to let the listeners know who's all part of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna forget some names, right? Of course, my man Will Washington from Fightful, Molly Bell from Fightful, Sean Radican, PW Torch, Lauren Moran, artist, True God Immortal recording artist. My man Phil, Phil's last name. My man Phil from The Ringer, who also writes on the wrestling side, is over there. And a couple of other people, man, like a lot of people who've been doing really good work for a very long time are involved, and all just willing to help. And it's super exciting to have that many people from various parts of the community want to see other people thrive. So yeah, it was. I'm glad I reached out to him, and I love that more people said, "Hey, I want to help. Hey, can I help with this? This is a good idea." So yeah, just giving back, man. And of course, as I see she logs in, my girl Lovely as well, content creator, merch creator. So yeah, just a big group of folks coming together, try to help people out, because so many people in this are just for self. And there are so many people who just don't even think about wanting this stuff to continue and wanting people to thrive. So yeah, man, just a way to get your stuff seen by people who do it, give you some pointers, give you some advice, make a few contacts, and hopefully, if you're good, help you get to where you need to go.
My favorite thing, one of my favorite things about you is anytime I like just have a late night rant online about like that isn't professional, I'll
Yeah.
wake up that next morning and you'll be like, "Hey, bro, you got to delete this. Hey, bro, that ain't meant for the timeline." I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, all right." Like,
It's because what's difficult, like, so it's not just these two, but I kind of tend to think long term. I have an idea about my trajectory, right? So whenever like somebody would make a tweet about like Naomi, and of course Naomi's super attractive woman, right? Bianca Belair, super attractive woman, right? But they would be like talking about their bodies and making like a sexual comment, and they would kind of like nudge me along, like, "What you think, Cam? What you think, Cam? What you think, Cam?" And in my mind, I'm like, the way things are going, and this is like 2 years ago, I said, the way things are going, I'm going to be in the same rooms and having the same conversations with them and their husbands. So I can't make the same jokes, right? And lo and behold, I'm at Wale Mania last year taking tequila shots with Montez Ford. You know what I mean? And so you don't want, and Jordan Grace, like, who I consider like a friend, right? When I was at Wale Mania, I met Gresham, right? And so, and even when I joked around about her, it was always like super light. You know what I'm saying? Like the milk jokes, right? But like I was just in my head, like over the last couple of years, it's like, look, you're going to be in these people's vicinity, and you don't know, like, one, you don't know how the woman's gonna take it. Two, you don't know how the husband's gonna take it. And so, one, you don't want to make people uncomfortable. Two, you don't want to get your ass kicked. And three, like, you don't want your ability to create to be cut off because you were saying slick shit, right? So yeah, it was just like, and it's of course not just you, but I pull people aside a lot. I'm like, look, if you trying to be in these circles, you want to be in these rooms, you got to pull back what you're saying about these people if you want to create with them. And like I told you about who you were talking about, you might not really like them, but like you're going to be in a room with their cousins, their brothers, their coworkers, their tag team partners, somebody who's fond of them, and you're going to have to answer for it. Like, I get lucky because, like, I've absolutely made my share of Chris Jericho jokes, right? But the thing about it is, Chris Jericho is old enough, and when I say old, I mean like tenure, right? He's old enough to where, like, even if he's working with Daniel Garcia, me and Garcia are still good, right? Like that doesn't change. But somebody who was like a contemporary, like you were talking about, it's like, yeah, look, gotta pull back. Like you can't, regardless of how you feel, like you might not want to say that. And I don't think that's like being fake. I think that's like protecting your job. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people forget, like, doing it for the love is great, but at the end of the day, you are doing this as either a gig or career, right? And with any job or career, look, if you work at McDonald's, right? Like, you're not just going to shit on Burger King because you don't work there, because you might need to flip something over there. You know what I'm saying? That don't make you fake. That makes you protective of what you're making. And so, yeah, it's, I have made a lot of, I wouldn't say mistakes, but faux pas are there. And so if I don't got to watch somebody else do it, I'm going to encourage you not to do it.
No, definitely. And it's what, like, I tell people too, because not even just with content creation and all that, but like going back to the McDonald's and Burger King thing you said, the last thing I do, I don't mention my employer's name on any social media just because I'll be complaining about my job. And I don't want like another future employer seeing it and being like, oh, wow, he's talking about us online. And like I got on the kids at my old job about it because they would be like, they'd be posting on Snapchat, Facebook, and all of that, like, oh, F this place, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, you can't be doing that because, like, let's say Boss Man finds that. You're, like, it's just, I don't know. And, like, I'm bad about it, but, like you said, like, I want to try to help people learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, what's unique in my situation is, like, my professional job is, like, at a college, right? And, like, you can kind of say whatever you want, like not whatever you want, but like it gets into, my career is like super liberal as an institution, right? And so you can be a little loose and like they're not gonna be like, yo, you was joking about sex and drugs on social media. It's like, nah, it's but I also understand that like with that job, I'm a small cog in the machine, right? Like they're not looking to see if Cameron is always properly represented. Like, no, they're not worried about all that. Like it's, you're allowed to be a bit more outspoken. But in this thing, like you, number one, you work for you. And so like, I got to send out a certain amount of emails every month to wrestlers and managers and former personalities about stuff I want to do. And so I don't want them to click on CeeHawk and be like, oh, he was shitting all over, blah, 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 blah. Not doing nothing with that guy. And so, yeah, like with this thing, and with all jobs, you should be protective, but like I am in a weird position where I'm under more scrutiny with this than I am with the other thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, because there's been times where I've sent like emails or DMs to people I want to have on, and then I'm like, man, I think I might have said something about a partner of theirs or a coworker of theirs, and I'm like, man, maybe CeeHawk was right. Maybe I shouldn't be watching what I said.
For the most part, like, unless it's something really, if you're talking about their ability to do their job, like that can be more difficult than when you talk about what happens outside of that. Like they tend to understand that the people you work with aren't always going to have your ideals, aren't always going to say the things that you say, but you know, we're allowed to feel different, but you can't really say somebody they like is trash in the ring. You can't do. And I think I've noticed I've done less of like, this person is bad at their job, that person's promo is bad. Like I try to stay away from that. If I know, like, and I might think it's bad, right? I'm not going to say it's good when it's not. I'm just going to abstain from talking about the bad things. Just makes more sense. You know what I mean? Like, because it also ventures over into the territory of a lot of people are trying to get themselves over. Like they work for AEW or WWE. And I'm like, that's cool. You want to create this personality, but you shitting all over somebody like professionally ain't going to get you what you want. Like they remember that. That's the shit they take to heart. They don't care how you feel about them as people. They know, people know when they're bad people, right? They know. Yeah. They don't care about that shit. If there's money to be made, if there is a story to get out there, they don't care how you feel about them, but don't shit on their ability to make their money now. That can be a problem.
Yeah. My next question for you is, so like every content creator has their like there's short-term goals and all that, but what is a long-term goal for you? Like what is like just a long-term? Like
I have no fucking idea. No fucking idea. Because what's crazy, like I got this job with the Ringer right after I got like a big raise at my regular job, right? And so it was like, I was like, man, I got a little more money now. I'm gonna take care of these bills and I'm gonna start to work on X, Y, and Z, right? And then all of a sudden, like, I have two jobs. So the cool thing I'm able to do now is the stuff I've wanted to do with like myself and Travis. Like I have the money to do it now. You know, I have the ability to pay people that have been making like content and creating who I thought haven't been getting treated fair by the people making it for them. And so like long term is so tough, man, because I'm all of a sudden in a position I never thought I did, you know? Like
who's a long-term person you'd like to work with? Would that help? Would that make it easier to answer?
I mean, I'd love to talk to Bret Hart for 2 hours, right? Like, I'd love to do that. Like, I'm never going to get the chance to talk to Scott Hall like I wanted to talk to Scott Hall. I can't talk to Kurt Hennig like I wanted to talk to Kurt Hennig, right? But, like, so take somebody like The Rock, right? Wade did an interview with The Rock back in the late 90s, and this is before Rock is rocked. And so he's already very protective of the things he says and the way he says them and that. So like, I don't want to talk to the biggest star ever in wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, what's weird is I can't think of who I can't talk to. Like, I probably can't sit down with Roman, right? Like, Roman's probably too busy for me. But everybody else is kind of in the wheelhouse or available. It's weird. What I really want to do, and it's not even in the long term, it's in the short term, because I've been working with a producer at Viacom. I want to do like a show where it's like Drink Champs, but it's like brunch. And I'm just sitting down, kicking it with X personality, and we rock for hour and a half or shorter, and just kick it and just talk, but not in a way where it's like interview, but like, let's really get you across. Because if you look at what I did with Rick, if you look at what I did with Dax, that's not about like, tell me about your match in 2005 and ins and outs. Now, I'm talking about people, right? I'm trying to get people to understand people. I'm trying to push the idea of personality, the idea of conversation leading to understanding, right? So yeah, man, I've been wanting to do a show like that for a while, and now like the capital and the time and the relationships are there. So long term, man, I don't know. I want to be a good dad when it's time to be a good dad, right? But professionally, like, it's going the way it's supposed to. So I don't know. Maybe we'll talk in a couple of months and I'll have something. But right now, it's all building to what I want it to be.
I always like at job interviews when they ask me that, they're like, "Oh, what's a long-term goal of yours?" I always say, and it blows them out the water each time. I'm like, "Well, I don't set these 5-year goals or nothing like that. I set like monthly goals, and if those monthly goals go according, I'll be where I need to be in 5 years."
Yeah, yeah. Now they asked me at my job. It's like, dog, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was crazy. Like, so what's hard about it working in education, one, you get a raise every year. Two, I got my promotion the beginning of 2020, I want to say. And so it's crazy. So now there's like a third level to my job, and the third level is like the highest level you can get to. And I was like working toward it. I was like, yo, I'm gonna go to this meeting, I'm gonna go be a part of this club, I'm gonna really put myself out there in the school and join a bunch of stuff and show them how serious I am about this last level. Man, I got another job paying me more money. So it's like, yeah, y'all are gonna have to be satisfied with what I'm doing. Like, it ain't enough hours in the day. And it's cool. My boss knows that I have the second job. My boss knows how much I make at the second job too. But she's like, hey, we're gonna get out of you what we can. You go do your thing. And it's fantastic. So yeah, man. I have plans that I've put out there. And so long term, just a couple of ideas about this really becoming a visual thing, it being an on-site thing. I just want that to come to fruition right now. And I think everything else is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, most definitely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask whoever's in the space if they have any questions or topics or whatever you want me and Cam to talk about. You can go ahead and just put it in the comments of the original space post just to get you guys a little engaged, because unfortunately I don't got the resources to be able to let them join. And
yeah. We're working with new technology.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of rough, man. But I tell you, like, as we're doing that, so you talk about goals, probably for WrestleMania weekend, I plan on booking like a podcast studio for the day and just rocking out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna be in there with a couple of bottles. We're gonna have people like in there kicking it and just see who comes through and sits down to talk, man. Like, we'll probably do it like the Tuesday or Wednesday of Mania that week, because people are usually there for like a whole week, right? So just have like a free flowing thing. I think is going to be really fun. I miss doing in-person podcasts with video, like really getting the feel for people, really getting their live reactions to stuff. I miss that. And it's so few and far between that we can do it now. Like, I went to an indie show Thursday night. That's why we couldn't do this on Thursday. Um, and my man Stephen Wolf, his wife Hyam was there. Luigi Primo was there. A bunch of different people, and we had really good conversations because we built those relationships. But it's like, man, I wish I could get y'all to sit down in a room and we just kick it. Again, short term, I got. Dang, you gave me to the end of the month. I just thought about that. So I'm doing an article with Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It'll be my second one. We're doing something on two of Booker T's students who have had this really good rivalry across the state and in the Southwest about how the rivalry came about, what they're competing for. So that's going to be in PWI. But I made a deal with Kevin, the editor, my man. I said, Kev, I will not charge you a rate for this story, but he has to let me have the story after it's published. And the reason being, we're going to put together like a 5-page e-zine with the article, but we're also going to have there's an artist I'm really fond of who does like this amazing it's like amazing kind of 90s style 16-bit box art. Like it's purely like art. It's not like pixels or anything, but it's got that aesthetic. So he's going to do something with the wrestlers where he's going to do a few pictures in them. He's also going to make like we're going to make like bios of them, like height, where they're built from, accomplishments, like all kinds of stuff like that. And we're going to sell it for like $10. So, the wrestlers can get a little cut of that. And I'm supposed to actually, I think I'm doing the interview with Booker T, if not this week, next week. And so I might sneak and take that as a Ringer article. I got bills. So I might sneak and take that part of it and see if we can flip that into a full-fledged article. I think it'd be really fun. But yeah, my long-term is tough, but man, once this thing took off, all the short-term stuff popped up. A lot of people want to work on a lot of things. And so I'm excited to do it.
So we got a question. Lizzie Lucha asks, for Cam, what are your 3 dream interviews and why?
Dream interviews. If we're talking specifically wrestling, Kurt Angle would be one of them. Just one of my favorites all time in the ring. I think that questions for Kurt Angle about competition, I don't think he gets enough of those. And competition in competing with the Rocks, the Austins, what he felt about raising it up to another level during TNA. Like the competition is something I really want to ask Kurt Angle about, because I don't know if there's anybody who's ever done this who's more competitive. I think that as a long-term interview, as something that would be like, you got to break this down into 5 parts, Rey Mysterio. I just think that to call someone that accomplished underrated sounds cliche, but if you really look at, and I say this all the time, people look at me crazy. If you look at longevity, if you look at influence, and you look at success, Rey Mysterio is one of the most influential, or one of the greatest American wrestlers ever, if those are your barometers, right? And so I think that that's just an amazing life to chronicle. One of them, that's I got the iron in the fire of Victoria. Victoria is my first wrestling crush, right? And so I just feel like I'll be sheepish in an interview for the first time ever. But as far as being just underrated talent all time, a super important figure, and somebody who is just gracious in a way that a lot of people aren't, Victoria would be way up there. So off the top of my head, those are my 3. Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, Victoria. In wrestling, outside of wrestling, Lorenz Tate, the actor, I think, has had an amazing career. Randy Moss is way up there. Charles Woodson way up there. I don't know if I'd have like any like politicians offhand. That can be difficult. Maybe Stacey Abrams would be like a really great one. Al Pacino would be great. So yeah, there are a few out there that I have that would be really like all-time benchmarks. But like Rey Mysterio, like in the immediacy wrestling, is probably the one that I really want to do.
We have another question by Newfi Hunter. He says, if you could manage a current day wrestler, any promotion, who would he pick?
Manage one wrestler. It's a really good question. Probably Mello. And I know that like Trix is heavy, I'd say, not his manager, right? But like me and Mello have had like conversations. And you know, like not even big brother, little brother, but like the uncle you don't see too often who might like give you $10 when he sees you, right? I think Mello, because like he's you know, that's young Shawn Michaels to me, man. And so knowing his trajectory, knowing what he can do, being like older guy around him, I think would be really fun. So yeah, Carmelo Hayes, like on top of my head, would probably be like the guy I think of for sure.
So I know I've said this on the pod, but have I ever told you the pitch I had? I pitched it to a wrestler. I pitched it to Mike Outlaw one night for my manager like gimmick, I guess you could say.
I think you did tell me this, but go again. I want to hear it.
So I would be Jake the Mistake, and what I would do is I would come out through the curtain just like 2 or 3 seconds before the beat drops or something like that, just like when the crowd usually gets fired up. Sure. And then I would like slip and fall trying to get in the ring. I'd accidentally mess up like for whoever I'm like helping, like whoever I'm supposed to be helping out, I'll mess it up for them on accident, and just little stuff like that. And then like the end goal would be me taking a move or whatever. And I remember I sat here and I was telling Outlaw this, and he just sat there and he was listening nice as hell about it. And he goes, "Okay, but when are you going to start training?" And I was like, "All right, yeah. I mean, like you got to. That's a valid question. It's a valid question."
Yeah. No, yeah. Like I don't even know like what my gimmick would be. I'd be like, "Yo, tell me what you want me to do." Yeah, I'm saying like, tell me what you think I should be doing, and I'd sit on it. But like, yeah, I'm thinking about being me, right? Because the thing to avoid is like, I've seen way too much of Stokely, and I've talked to Stokely. Like, I've had too many conversations with him. Like, my whole thing would be avoid what he's doing. Like, so I'd be on eggshells the whole time because, like, that's how I see like an exaggerated version of myself. But yeah, I just want to sit back and I take a move. You know, I take a move or two. But yeah, no, I don't know what I would do like in character.
Yeah, Freddie Faded asks, question for the Baller Cam: what are your thoughts on Brian Keith and Mysterious Q?
I love Brian Keith. If for no other reason than like he's the first Swisher House wrestler. Like as somebody who was in high school in the early 2000s, like you don't, and being from Texas, like and being like a man, I can't explain to you like the role that like Swisher House and screw music played in my upbringing. It's one of the most important things in like forming a young Black man from Texas, right? And so like Swisher House extending into wrestler and Brian Keith like being a wrestling bounty hunter, like sponsored by Swisher House. It's amazing. Like he's all the things you would have wanted to be. He's all the things I would have wanted to be 20 years ago. Like it's amazing, right? Mysterious Q, great wrestler, great look. And he's like, you know, he's too handsome to have a mask on, but they put a mask on him anyway. Like he's gonna get picked up and he's gonna be a star somewhere. So I think both of them are fantastic. Absolutely.
Next question is the first non-wrestling question. King Nate asks, who is your favorite musical artist and why?
it's cheating. It's Outcast, right? Outcast is just like dare to be different, dare to be different, dare to be original. I think one thing that you talk about, I hate when you go to like a job interview and they're like, so what are your bad qualities, right? But they ask you your good qualities, you try to be humble. I think a good quality that I see in myself is like I'm good in any room and I'm only being me. I don't change up who I am depending on who I'm around. And I think people appreciate that. Like, I'm not hood dude. I'm not street dude. I'm just Cam, who likes his comic books and likes his sci-fi, but also likes women and likes to lift weights and likes Jordans. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm good in every room. And that's what I loved about Outkast. Like, as different as they were, as different as the subject matter was, they didn't compromise and they still got their accolades, and the music is just flawless. Like Aquemini is one of my absolute favorite albums ever. Outkast is my favorite, definitely my favorite pairing, but my favorite group because they made being different cool and they didn't have to sacrifice ability or go with gimmicks to make it. They were living like themselves every day. So absolutely Outkast for sure.
All right. This next question, we were talking about how watch what we say about people, but somebody asked, what is your honest thoughts on wrestling? And I cannot pronounce the last name. Otaku.
Wrestling Otaku.
Otaku.
My honest thoughts. Wasted opportunity, man. Like he's like 2,500 YouTube followers, right? While that's not a big number, it's a hard number to get. Like you got to crack that algorithm, and you have to produce a lot of content. I think that someone who is, you got to preface it by saying you're not being insulting, right? He's a heavyset guy who's not super concerned with his appearance, who does his videos on a phone in his grandmother's house, who is not afraid to be abrasive, isn't afraid to only argue one side, and will talk you to death about why he's right and you're wrong, right? Like DDP said, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Like I see that and I'm like, yo, this is something where you put a few dollars behind it, you take some pointers and you can really have something, right? But he can't turn it off. That's my tough thing. Like, it's not a gimmick. And damn, I wish it was a gimmick because we can market this thing. Like, there's a million people on the internet who don't watch what they eat, don't care how they dress, don't go to the barbershop, and sit in their mom house all day talking bullshit. Ain't a whole lot of them that has the attention that he does, though, especially in wrestling, right? So I was like, damn, you got a real opportunity if you just listen, but man, he think he know what he's doing. And like, he does not understand what I did for him. And I wouldn't want nobody taking credit for all my success unless I owed him credit for my success, then I would listen. But my honest opinion is he's going to be exactly where he is until he starts to take some advice. And it sucks because like you and I talk, like I would never ask you to compromise what you do, but damn, if you woke up with 2,500 YouTube followers, I bet you would be like, look what I got, Cam, let's make something shake. And we would go from there. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, you got to let people do what they want to do. That's a grown man. That's a 30-year-old man. So, if he's good with where he wants to be, that's great. But I listen to people more successful than me about what I can do to be successful, especially when they give me the advice without me asking them.
You were talking about how YouTube in the 2,500 subscribers, that like YouTube is probably one of the hardest platforms to get like followers on, because anybody can, like, I watch a ton of YouTubers, but I don't subscribe to them.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Like you're like, oh, that video was dope. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you go from there. You know? So again, my man, he has something. And it's like, but one of the things about success is if you feel like you did it on your own, a lot of people in that position would just keep doing what they're doing. You know, that's people. You know, he's not doing anything other people don't do, you know, but it's just like, damn, you see it right there and you know what it can be. And it's just like, wasted opportunity, man. Like, look, I was like, I wanted to start small, be like, look, I see the phone that you record off of. Phones ain't cheap, right? Everybody ain't got money, especially in 2002. Like, I think he works part-time, right? So in my mind, let's say you work part-time. Let's say you make $25,000 a year, just to have a number, right? I know the state that he lives in. I know what stuff costs. And so I'm like, look, he probably don't got the money to have a phone from the last 3-4 years, right? I was like, well, shit, I'm about to upgrade mine. I take my stuff off. I'll throw homie the phone in the mail. All of a sudden, he got a better recording device. If nothing else, your videos went from kind of a standard definition to HD right there, right? Boom. And like, I don't got no problem doing that because I'm like, look, one, I like watching your content. So shit, if I can help improve on that, why wouldn't I do it, right? But, you know, like, man don't want to listen, so man gonna be where he is, you know? And even like at this point, if he were to reach out and be like, look, I want to make something shake, I would still do it. If for no other reason, I want to watch this shit. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, like he has something, he knows he has something, but he is not willing to look at all the factors that got him where he is. And can it still work for him? Absolutely, but he's making it hard on himself.
No, most definitely. So what was because you guys were beefing, or he was beefing with you. I don't know if you were beefing with him. Where did that all stem from?
It wasn't beef. Like the first video I saw him was him talking about 10 reasons women are trash. And like, I shared that and it blew up, right? And so I would make like little jokes here and there, but I would literally tell him, I'm a fan, dog. Like, I subscribed, I hit like on all your shit. Like, I like what you're doing. But I think that when you're somebody who doesn't interact with people a whole lot in real life, even people joking with you can be taken as them slighting you, right? And so I think he didn't understand what to do with the interaction, you know? And so he would like, basically it got to the point where he was like, why do you think you did something for me when I built this on my own? Yeah, it was a lot of that. It was, I'm not even saying like it was like an inferiority thing. It was just like, again, not used to that level of interaction. And so, I mean, when you don't kick it with people in real life, kicking it don't make sense to you, you know? So I think it was that. I think he thought I was trying to take credit for what he was doing. And I'm like, no, it's just if somebody with literally, you know, 10, 15 times the amount of followers as me is like, yo, I like what you're doing, let's make something shake, I would just go with that. I think he's protective over his content. And so, you know, that turned into insults and all kinds of stuff. And then it got to a conversation about there are people who don't care about wrestling, who don't have passion for wrestling, that are making money in wrestling, and I don't like that. And it's like, I really took offense to it because like, you don't get to question if I care. Like he took umbrage to the idea that I was talking about wrestlers can't always be expected to be rational because they go out there in their underwear and do what they can to make people cheer. And he took that as me like disrespecting the business. Like, no, I'm being quite literal about how this thing works and how your brain is going to function based on that, right? And so, yeah, I just think that he's one of those people who he's a gatekeeper. You know what I mean? I love this thing. I love these people, and I'm not getting X amount of dollars, and I don't get to hang out with the wrestlers because of it. When in actuality, the fact that you feel like that is why you don't have it, because you're not cool. Like you can't function in a room in a way that would make people want to be forthcoming to you, you know? So, you know, maybe he'll figure it out, maybe he won't, but the beef is over what's going on versus what he thinks he deserves. And I'm telling him how to get what he thinks he deserves. And, you know, you don't want to listen. So good luck.
What's the best piece of advice somebody's given you?
The best piece of advice I've gotten, my man Sparks, who I'm gonna text him after this. I'll probably call him. My man Sparks, he started Wrestle Rap, him and Kaz, and you know he helps produce Renee's podcast. He helps with producing AEW Dark. Has the best head of hair you've ever seen. Think big is really what he tells me. It's think big. It's do not feel like your vision can't come to fruition. You have to plan for it, but plan for it to be successful and create what you want to create. Because fun secret that's not really a secret, I think he said Wrestle Rap never really made money, right? For a time, the most popular urban style wrestling podcast at the very least, absolutely the coolest wrestling podcast in the whole world for a very long time. But because it was so successful is why they got offered a bunch of money in WWE, right? So think big and make the content you want to make, because if people fuck with it, the money's out there. If people fuck with it, but people ain't gonna fuck with you being fake. They're just not. Like, you're way better off making what you want to make than you are making what you think is gonna work, because people see through that. Because a lot of times what you think is gonna work is what everybody else is doing because they think the same. Make what you want to the best of the ability that you can make it, and that's what's going to be successful. Like, take advice. I'm not saying make the wildest shit that you can, but aesthetically, artistically, make what you want to make, because that's what's going to attract people. That's what's going to draw people.
Most definitely. And then is there, do you want to let the people know where they can find you on social media? You have a podcast also, if you have any merch, any of that stuff?
Absolutely, man. Social media, CeeHawk. If you're listening on Twitter, you know exactly where to find me, right? CeeHawk, CeeHawk, Instagram, Twitter. You can, let's see, if you have recommendations for people you want me to interview or you think would be interesting to talk to, you can send that to South Congress with a K, southcongress@gmail.com. You can find me on theringer.com. Just search the name Cameron Hawkins. You can subscribe to my RSS feed of my writing. South Congress Podcast with the K, available on all podcast platforms. And if you have a podcast, if you have an article, if you have a blog, if you have a stream that you want critiqued for absolutely free, Creators Corner HQ. Creators Corner HQ @gmail.com.
All right. And then is there anything else you want to get off your chest? Say anything before we get off of here?
Hey, man. Love yourself. Love your people. Take care of each other. Do what you can to the best of your ability. Do not let these people on social media who aren't real people derail you from getting to your success and getting to your money, because they'll absolutely try. And stay true to you. Stay true to you. The things you want to happen will happen.
I love it. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for listening. You can leave 1 star, 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a thumbs down. I don't give a damn. You can listen or follow me on Twitter at your boy Squints, at a man in his pod. That's all. I keep on saying I'm going to do TikTok, but I keep on forgetting.
I need somebody to teach me how to do TikTok. Shout out to the professor. Somebody teach me.
TikTok is difficult, but that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Those that listen on Spaces, thank you for chiming in and saying your stuff. Peace.